going. Yeah, so last week we didn't get to the news in normal fashion. You missed out on a good conversation because one of the news last week was about prostitution, and that was interesting. I was gonna do another follow-up story to it, but I was like, nah, I tried not to do like back-to-back news coverage of the same topic. I tried to avoid it, but so this week, in honor of reading The Psychology of Money, I plucked out this news story from CNBC. A majority of Americans think children will be financially worse off than their parents, survey finds. The coronavirus pandemic has made parents pessimistic about their children's future, according to a survey by the Pew Research. More than 2/3, 68% of U.S. respondents said that they think their children will be financially worse off as adults as their parents, up from 60% from 2019. Only 32% think their children will be better off. The global survey was conducted between February 1st and May 26th amongst 18,000 adults in 17 advanced economies. The U.S. ranked 6th in pessimism towards children's financial future, tied with Canada, behind Japan, France, Italy, Spain, and Belgium. When it comes to the current economic situation, 71% of Americans think it is bad, compared to 29% who believe it's good. So, what do we think about this recent survey with 18,000 people? Even though it's relatively a small, microscopic amount of people compared to who's out here living in the billions of people that are out here, but based on these people, they think that the majority of them think that their children is just going to be behind the 8 ball permanently.
I'm just curious to know what class they were and what their current situation is. So if they're avid investors who feel this way, then I would feel like, their opinion is valid. But if they're basing that also on their personal portfolio, then, I didn't really save as much as I probably should have saved, and taking that into account as well, I can't agree with it. I mean, I feel like even in the time of this pandemic, like, I don't feel like our stocks have been decimated. Like, I know at the current time it had. I mean, investors. I know at the current time it may have plummeted, but we've rebounded. So, like, what's making them feel like kids are going to be worse off financially if the parents are still sound investors?
Everyone want to take a crack at Kelvin's question?
I agree with Kelvin about what class you're in. Whole thing is that if you're in a lower class, yeah, you're not going to really have great. You're going to be kind of pessimistic, because if you're already in a lower class and you're not making much money or anything like that, then there is no 529 college fund. There is no custodial investment fund. There is none of that for you, because you don't have enough to, support such, securities. Now, if you're in the middle and upper class, that can be kind of catchy. If you're in the upper class, it's pretty much almost a slam dunk for you. But if you're in the middle class, it's a 50-50, gamble. It could tilt either way, I think the fact that people need to be more educated on not just the markets, but the job market, society, what major things that are really going to have an impact on the direction that the world heads into in the next couple of decades. We need to kind of pull away from the idea of like everybody gets a participation trophy and everybody can win, because that's just not a reality. And we need to start, teaching our kids to have realistic goals and expectations, other than be a YouTuber or be a dancer or a rapper or an NBA, player.
Yeah, we're YouTubers right now, bruh. Well, go ahead, my bad.
Oh yeah, because that's our stream of income, right?
I'm just
Right.
saying that
That's how we.
we're in the pool of YouTubing now. I'm just
But the reality is that YouTube is not sustainable as a stable income provider.
yeah.
You know,
Nah, I'm
but
just
for a
busting your
small
chops. Yeah,
minority.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
that's just that. Just like I mentioned, the basketball player, the dancer, like, can you make money? Yes, but that's a very, very, very small minority of people in that industry that can make money. So
yep.
we have to push our kids more towards, practical decisions for the long term.
We have to push our kids to get back to work.
Yeah.
That's what it is in a nutshell. You summed it up pretty well, but we got to get kids back to work, not trying to take the easy way out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Everybody trying to find the fastest way, and the fastest way is hard work. We're forgetting about that. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I don't know. I got an interesting output on the study. Yes, I'm interested to know, like, when they made mention the study consists of people in 17 economies. I had no clue what the hell they were talking about, referring to there. I'm like, 17 economies, what is that? I wish they could have provided a hyperlink to that, to like break that down. But I look at like the situation now when you look at inflation. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the screenshot that I sent earlier this week where a grocery CEO chain, he expect food inflation to go up 10 to 14%. I was listening to Jerome Powell earlier this week where, they're talking about transitory inflation. And I also remember a study from Harvard that talked about by the year 2030, 7% of jobs will be completely evaporated due to automation and robotics and stuff like that. So I think you have a lot of parents who are seeing some who probably see the landscape, the financial prospect, and it looks very dire. There's a book that I do have lined up that's going to talk about the haves and have-nots, and I being as someone who works in the finance industry, a lot of times what I'm also seeing is you see elderly people having to now they can't pass on they're not capable of passing on their wealth because they're anticipating living longer. So the money that they're seeing that they could pass on to their grandson or their nephew or their niece, they're like, well, shit, I didn't expect to live for another decade. I gotta be able to cover my own expenses. So like, there's certain roadblocks that are happening that is causing people to say like, the future doesn't necessarily look positive. It looks very bleak. But yeah, it comes down to definitely instilling values into your children. Like, look, you just got to work hard. I understand that things might be rough, but don't wallow in it. But there's definitely roadblocks in regards to like why the next generation might be hard hit than prior generations.
I think it has more so to do with like what Smith and Schubert was saying as far as niggas need to go back to work because
it's not as simple.
Money,
it's not as simple as just saying going back to work. Going back to work to do what exactly?
You got to go back to work to do some of the blue collar jobs that people don't want to do. You got to go back to some of the. You got to go back to doing some of the trades that people don't want to do.
Yeah, but
wait. Even with the technology increasing, you're still going to have certain trades that still need to be there.
Oh, absolutely.
Still needs to be the person that make sure that the electricity is on. Like there's still certain jobs that will always be. People just don't want to work those particular jobs.
And you can't automate a trade.
Yes, you can because you're there. Yes, you can, bro. Like there's a YouTube channel called Robotics. I think it's called Boston Robotics. You got to watch some of their videos in regards of the stuff that they're doing in the trade industry. And when
they're gonna be able to send a robot out to my house to fix something that needs to be fixed. They can send a robot carpenter.
Yeah, when you're talking about building new homes, because what's happening is when you look at a lot of new homes that are being built, they're going to be built with new technology that's going to last a lot longer.
And some of them are being built robotically now. So.
Yeah, there's some of them are being built robotically now. Like even like there's this video that went viral where there was like these robots laying bricks, bro, like perfectly, like just laying bricks. So
does
like
it really surprise you? It's repetitive action.
Exactly.
And it's meticulous repetitive action. A
You
robot
know what,
can
though?
easily be programmed for that. I mean,
But
you got to remember, your car, your cell phone, your TV, the laptop that you're on, most of the devices you use are on a factory line where robots are putting it together.
Exactly. Like if you ever watched the video of Tesla's factory, bro, the shit hands down is mostly robots.
Question though, is that labor going to be cheaper than human labor?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Bro, when you talk about
workman's comp, no overpay, no overtime pay, no lunch breaks. You can work all through the night. You can literally have your factory pumping out 24 hours a day and produce.
And most importantly, you don't even have to deal with the bullshit unions. Like, oh, you want to unionize? Okay, we got something for you. We're going to start pumping out more of these Axis robots.
I guess I'm just thinking about like not the major corporations, but like the everyday contractor.
Well, the thing is, I think, you know, we got to think more broadly about this. So like, all right, we get back to the trades, right? If you encourage, it's a fine line because once you start encouraging a lot of people to get into the trades, now you have an oversaturation of people in the trades. So now you could basically say like, yo, I don't have to pay someone XY salary because now this person is coming in and say, I take a salary less than that because now you have this oversaturation. And I think when you think economically about the job landscape, yes, there's going to be opportunities, but what do those opportunities look like and for how many people who are going to be taking advantage of those opportunities? I think, honestly, yes, definitely invest. But I think one of the interesting things that, like I said, being in the finance industry, I remember talking to an elderly client. She said it herself. She was just like, yo, I didn't think I was going to live this much longer. I got to tamper down what I was going to pass down as an inheritance because now her cost of living much longer has basically ate away in regards of what she was going to pass down to her beneficiaries. So like now the next generation might not get the upper hand as prior generations in regards of acquiring wealth. So, you know, it's going to be rough. It's going to be interesting, especially when you talk about the rise of robotics, man. This shit is no joke. We're starting to see it now. You know, you go to any retail store, it's self-checkout for the most part.
Yep.
It's like, yo, like my interaction with a cashier has been very little in the past 3-4 years.
Hey, when's the last time you walked in the bank and got cash?
Exactly. Exactly. And
no,
like,
when's the last time you went to the ATM? Now that you could just swipe everything everywhere you go.
Exactly. So it's I think a lot of times, man, it's gonna be the have and have nots. And I think the people who probably were surveyed I don't know. It's interesting. I would like to know where on the economic ladder they fall in when they conducted this study, but you know, it is what it is. Next news story. This from U.S. News. Biden killing people remark was for big tech to act. So President Biden tempered his assessment that social media giants are killing people by hosting misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines on their platform, saying Monday that he hoped that they would take it personally and instead would act to save lives. While companies like Facebook defend their practices, say that they're helping people around the world access verified information about the shots, the White House says that they haven't done enough to stop misinformation that has helped slow the pace of new vaccines in the United States to a trickle. It comes as the U.S. sees a rise in viruses cases, you know, the new Delta and even rumors of the new Lambda. I don't know if you guys heard of that one. And the deaths amongst that haven't gotten a shot in what officials call an emerging pandemic of the unvaccinated. My hope is that Facebook, instead of taking it personally, that somehow I'm saying Facebook is killing people, that they would do something about the misinformation. Biden said this comes as Biden missed his intended goal of 70% being vaccinated on July 4th. You still have well over 100 million people not vaccinated. So what do we think of President Biden remarks saying that social corporate media is not doing much of curtailing misinformation on the web?
I'll go first. Get vaccinated. That's all I got.
I don't think that has anything, bruh. I mean, but next, all right, Zeus Smith.
So the misinformation. Oof, where do you start? Here's the thing. At the end of the day, people are getting their information from Tom, Dick, and Harry. They're not getting their information from well-qualified medical professionals. And I don't understand how people apply that logic, because it's like, you don't go to your mechanic when you need open heart surgery. So why are you taking advice from your mechanic about, oh, you just need to drink ginger tea and take a zinc vitamin to prevent COVID? Like, why is this person qualified to give you that medical advice, and why are you following it? Like, you don't apply that logic if it was a more direct situation. So I don't know. It's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating, and it's just, I don't know. As a person who's in the sciences and who's very adamant about, the sciences, it's very frustrating when I see people taking information from unreliable people and sources and not going to a professional or someone who is very well qualified to speak on the subject. Like the corporate, the whole thing is Facebook is not going to do anything, because, like, honestly, how are they going to keep up with everyone that puts out bad information? How's that even possible?
Man, I'm over these COVID conversations.
They're working on it. Matter of fact, the White House is now trying to do something where if you're texting somebody what they deem as misinformation, you'll get like a notification saying that this message contains misinformation.
So if I'm texting someone my opinion, then are we doing that slippery slope there?
Smith, go. Brother, I'll bring this shit home, brother.
If I'm texting my opinion, that's nonsense. First, that's all cool that he's saying people spreading the lies, but what about the textbooks? We going to change those too, or we just talk about social media? I mean, we could dig deeper on this if we really want to, because there's a lot of lies that's told in America. But now we're going to just deal with this one for the vaccine, the pandemic.
Well, to stay on target. I mean,
I'm on target.
I'm following you with the textbook thing. But the whole thing is, right now we're talking about one immediate threat. All right, we're talking about one immediate threat. We're talking about one fire. We're not talking about the fire that's up the street and around the corner. We're talking about the fire.
But it's immediate threat. Freedom of speech.
So until we can deal with the fire of the house that we're in, we can't deal with the fire at the house next door.
But you know what, though?
So freedom of speech doesn't become the immediate threat also, though.
No, I'm not saying freedom of speech should be an immediate threat. And I see the slippery slope along with you, and I don't really agree with it either, I really don't agree with it either. My whole thing is just that at what cost is your freedom of speech worth? Would you give up your mama's life for your freedom of speech? Would you let your mama get sick and die from COVID in order to have your freedom of speech?
Well, personally,
would you sacrifice your children, your family, your friends?
I'm going to answer the question. Personally, I would do the research, the necessary research. I wouldn't do a social media research personally. Right. So if I wanted to do the real research needed to protect my family, then I would do the real research needed. I wouldn't do the social media sitting there listening to Tom, Dick, and Harry. That wouldn't be my personal thing. So for people to, again, use the social media platform and say this is why and listening to other people, I mean, that's on them. But at the end of the day, to censor, start doing censorship, I think that's This is America, man.
To be honest, for me, when I read this story, I think this is a much bigger problem than just looking at just from COVID. And I think Smith brought it home, in which, where I think this is disconcerting to me, because who are these people who is identifying misinformation? Because I know, historically speaking, and you could just talk about most recently when you talk about, how this virus originated. They were saying that people who thought that this came from a lab, they were saying that was misinformation. Now it's being investigated as like, this could be a possible thing. But back last year in May and June, they were calling all the people who were saying like, yo, don't spread misinformation. This didn't come from a lab. This is possibly from a bat. And it's just like, no, this came from a lab. And now those people are vindicated in saying that, because it was just like, yo, but they were saying that they were misinformation. You talk about 9/11, one of the most, recent terroristic event that happened on U.S. soil. Yo, there was a lot of people saying like, yo, our involvement in Iraq has nothing to do with what happened on 9/11. Are we going to say that that's misinformation? Like the people who spoke up against that? I just think that, is, to Smith's point, I think it's a very slippery slope to have government dictate what's misinformation. I mean, what is solidified information and what's invalid information. It comes across very communistic. It comes across very 1984 Orwellianistic. I just think that sticking with COVID, I think that based on, who I've seen censored, credible doctors I've seen censored, and not given the platform to at least espouse their evidence, I think, this is something very terrifying to even entertain, to have the government tell private institutions how they should operate.
Can I say something? As far as the whole COVID, I don't really think we need to be having any more conversations about it. It's a disease. It is what it is. Niggas are either going to get vaccinated or not. Like, that seems like as simple as a conversation at this point. Now, I know all like the side conversations where, it may lead to like overall bigger pictures as far as like censorship. As far as COVID goes, though, I'm over convincing niggas to try to take it, just like I'm over people trying to convince me why it's bad. It is what it is at this point. You either get the vaccine or you don't. As far as the censorship, I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like we can still harp on America's always been this way. We've always had freedom of speech. We've always had X, Y, and Z, because social media and the ability, how easy it is to get information out, has changed the way that we live. And it doesn't mean that you take away some of your constitutional rights, but I'm just not surprised that the government is trying to take a different stance that they've taken in the past, because you have certain people in power, like a Mark Zuckerberg or even a homeboy from Amazon, who are trying to intrude on the daily lives of the average person. So for the government to just not try something, I don't want to say different, but to not act differently than they've always acted, I think like that's unrealistic. Whether we deem it fair or unconstitutional or whatever it is, like they are adapting to the current world that we're living in based on social media and how easy it is to get information out.
Okay.
Well, we will see. It's
it's kind of like in the book when we were reading, when you're talking about the corporate CEO that got fired, for making bad judgment or whatever the case was, and he's like, yeah, everyone can sit out in the arena and look at the person who's the gladiator or whoever is and say, oh, they should have did this or that. It's easy to sit out from the outside and make those commentaries versus like being on the inside and having to make decisions that can either benefit or destroy everybody.
Well,
the whole thing is as everything from a business owner to a soldier, those split second decisions can, either make you or ruin you. And the whole thing is, it's like it's mind boggling to me that despite what the situation is, people think like the worst thing in the world that happened to them is wearing a mask. The worst thing that happened to them is taking a break from work. The worst thing that happened to them is medical science giving you medication or vaccines. Like this is the world that we're in. When there was a time when none of that shit was even a possibility. If you fucking died, you fucking died. And now we spit in the face of everything that, gives us the luxury of living too long for retirement.
Well, I would, my only thing to that is no one is going to deny the advancement medical science have had on human civilization. But we also can't deny on the other foot in regards of how egregious the pharmaceutical companies have been on civilization as well. Like if you look at the track record of Moderna, you look at the track record of Pfizer, shit, even fucking Johnson & Johnson, in addition to their cancerous powder, they just had to recall sunscreen due to it's a connection to, I forget which disease it was. Maybe it could be freaking cancer. And I think what people are concerned is not having this open discourse, an honest open discourse. And I get like sometimes those discourse could be problematic when you have an emergency situation like this pandemic. But you look at Australia now that's facing its forced lockdown. Like they did everything we had issues with in America in regards of mandates and locking shit down. Australia did this for 4 times. And if you listen to the accounts of what's happening in Australia, people are there's riots and protests happening out there. And they're feeling like their liberties are being stripped in the guise of this pandemic. So, I think it's just when it comes to what the government, what I really take away is not really more so COVID itself, but like for the government overstep. And I just don't think any country that allows the government to dictate how they live their lives is that's not a country I want to live in. Especially when a lot of these fucking, like you look at Washington, D.C., these are all corporate elitists. It's just like, no, I don't think a lot of them have, I don't think the majority of them have the best interest of people. I just don't. But
when we get Delta, and then we get Echo, Foxtrot, this, that, and the other, and the bodies are piling up in the morgue. Make sure you wave your American flag in freedom.
Hey, and it's
by the way, and here's the thing, I would agree with that freedom if most Americans actually, put blood in the mud, like those who have for your freedoms, and act like like if people, I have friends who are missing limbs, who are mentally, emotionally fucked up for life for your freedoms.
And that's fine, but the rhetoric, but hold up.
The whole thing is your greatest sacrifice is too much is to wear a mask.
But dude, that's the same rhetoric of some people saying what Colin Kaepernick did was disrespectful. I fought for this country, so you need to stand
No.
It's
not the same rhetoric.
It is the same. No, dude, because let me say
sacrifices.
Okay, but that's what people are saying. You have people on the right say, "Yo, you got military people who sacrificed and fought for this country. So how dare this nigga knee to this flag?" That was the rhetoric. That's the same shit. It's
not the same shit,
dude. Because what you just said is
not the same shit. No. Time out. See, I'm gonna explain how it's not the same shit. What Kaepernick did was a symbol of his own right to protest. Okay, which is one of his liberties and his freedoms. All right. What I'm talking about is when the government asks, a number of men to go out there and sacrifice their lives for the freedom and liberties of America. And then when the government says, could you citizens wear a mask? You're like, too much.
No, but it's still your freedom. What are you talking about? When you're censoring, if you're trying to declassify certain things as misinformation, what to Smith saying, you are encroaching on someone's freedom of speech. It's the same. But no. But
what I said.
I did listen to what you say.
What did I say?
But listen, Schubert. But your comparison is you use your anecdotal experience of saying, "Yeah, I know soldiers who have missing limbs for basically fighting for the so-called freedoms that you have, and your government is simply asking you to wear a mask." Fine, I get that, but that is no different from you saying that is no different from some conservative people saying like, "Yo, we have people who have missing limbs. How dare you knee to the fucking flag?"
It is not the same.
It's not. I don't see how you not see it not the same.
Because there's a difference. There's a difference between what I'm saying is the government asks 1% of the group to take action to make a move for the benefit of everyone else. Now that you ask the majority to take a step or an action for the benefit of everyone else, which specifically states what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the freedom of speech. I'm specifically saying, had everybody been wearing a mask and following the protocols and this, that, and the other from the jump, maybe we had better control over this.
And I get that, but what
That's
I'm saying
all
is,
I'm saying.
But we're still talking about
minor thing.
No, but that's a request. We're talking about in regards to this article, in regards of misinformation and encroaching on people's freedom of speech. You use the example of saying like you got soldiers basically fighting for your ability to be free, but yet you can't do a simple thing. And I'm just like, well, that's no different than saying like, yo, you got soldiers who lost their lives and lost their limbs. How dare Colin Kaepernick knee to the flag?
It is not the same at all.
It is.
It's two different actions.
Hey, Smith, I'm saying, Smith, how do you view that?
What that is that? Yeah, I see what you said. He said it's a personal sacrifice that one did, but it's still taken away. Either way, it's still a sign of freedom that's being taken away, I think, though.
By wearing a mask, it's taking away a freedom? What freedom is
that? Not by wearing a mask, no.
But that's what I'm referring to.
But we're talking about...
That's what I'm specifically referring to.
But what
all I'm saying is, had we taken action from the jump, and followed simple directions, social distancing, wearing a mask, but that was too much. People were in the streets like, fuck that. We're not wearing masks. We're being on top. We're having parties and all this other stuff. And now we're at where we're at now.
No,
I'm not talking about the misinformation. I understand.
No, I think for the first month, you had a lot of Americans doing what needed to be done for the first month. And then after...
No, it was in the news. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. It was all over the news. People were in protests.
Not in the first... Dude, when we went in lockdown on March 15th, no one knew what was going on. So the first 2 weeks, shit was locked down. Like, people weren't doing shit. They weren't doing shit. And I think the problem was how things were communicated was the problem. And I think there's an art to communication that people fail to have. And, Smith brought it up. It's just like, do you blame the president at the prior administration for the improper communication? Because that sort of thing caused dissension amongst people saying like, I view this differently. But for the first 2 weeks, I think a lot of people did what was necessary. But you could look at a country like
New Jersey.
Yeah, but you could look at a country like Australia. You could look at a country like Australia where they did everything. They were the antithesis of fucking America, and now they're facing another lockdown. But I don't know. The article is really more so on the encroachment of the overstep of government, really more so than I think it was COVID. But
you're right. The government should just step by and let everybody die. Say nothing. Let everyone have their freedom to say what they want to say and let people die. Just stay the fuck in my family.
No, I just.
How much truth
on social media? You also have people that have saying the right things. I mean,
how much truth is there? How much truth is there?
Yeah, I said, I think it depends on what you're trying to look for.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna still piggyback with Cass here. Like, so who do you have monitoring this? So anybody who says anything negative towards the pandemic or towards the vaccine, you're going to censor them.
Can I ask a question? Because
you know what I mean? Like anybody who says anything about it, you're going to censor them because they're saying something that's not in agreement with your narrative. That's the problem. That's the problem, though, right there. Because who you know what I mean? So anybody out of, let's say, 500 million Americans, and there's 300 million Americans that say something negative, you're going to just pull the plug on them, so to speak. They're going to be canceled. They won't have
your hand, Henry. You go next. Go ahead, Cal.
I didn't know if Smith was done. I'm trying to figure out what's the problem of just not talking about COVID anymore and leaving things the way that they are, with the understanding that if you cut that some people feel how they feel and want to get the vaccine and other people don't.
Well, the problem is, and to Schubert's point, it's not controlled. Now you got other variants being out there. So therefore, because people are not necessarily taking the vaccine based on how they're gathering their information, whether their information is incorrect or is not correct, the problem is not enough people are receiving the vaccine to help curtail the spread of the virus. And now it's being mutated to the point where, there's there's hospitalization happening across the nation. Now,
yeah, and also to Schubert's point, the government can't sit by and let people die.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. That's the reason why. It's just like, look, do you have COVID fatigue? Absolutely. You have COVID fatigue, and a lot of people want to, see the end of the light. But I think for me, it's just like, does this just stop with COVID? Like, what's the next? What I'm saying is, in regards of this article and Biden trying to force the hands of these social media corporations, like, what about the next event? Because one of the books I want to read, but it's a lengthy book, so I never will select this for this book, is Media Propaganda. And in regards
don't worry, Cash. Schubert's gonna select it. Go ahead.
No, but it's just like, if anyone has really looked at in regards of like how media has misled its people with disinformation themselves and have given full cablage to like do that with no consequence, it's tragic, bro. It's just like, so like, who are the panel of people who's going to say, what you're saying is misinformation? Shit, like any conspiracy theory that you might have about anything could be misinformation. It doesn't even have to be COVID related. So now it's just like, I think it's like, one of the books we probably should read is 1984, to revisit that. Because despite it being fictional, man, the shit is coming into fruition in many ways.
Yeah, but is there a way to like not have the government go as hard as they're going and be able to control or curtail the power that the social media owners have, as far as being able to disseminate the information?
I don't know. This is a long philosophical question, and it's going to be a long philosophical debate, and it's going to run incongruent of where you stand on the Constitution with lawyers and shit like that. It's going to be interesting. I thought it was very, to sneak in like, you trying to fucking monitor people's text message conversation. That's some 1984 shit, bruh. But we'll see though. We will see. Next up on the plate is wrapping up my man's Mr. Henry's book, The Psychology of Money. We got a few questions. I know people got to jet out soon, so we're going to try to get to as many as possible.
And I don't know if y'all been noticing or not, but I've been alternating between fiction and nonfiction. So you already know what's coming next.
Kudos to you, brother. Kudos to you.
Schubert, you don't have anything to say?
I'll wait for the next book after the next one you pick.
Kudos to you, brother. Kudos to you.
It's like, nigga, fuck your non-selection, your fictional book selection this week.
Thank you, Schubert.
All right, man, let's get into it. Let's start off with Mr. Henry's question, since he got a dead 10:45 stop, and then we'll jump into Schubert's and shit. After hearing Morgan's theory on the way bad news garners more attention, disasters happen overnight. Do you believe there is such a thing as overnight success stories? If so, why aren't they widely publicized? I don't think there's a such thing as an overnight success story. You have to work hard on your craft. Like, you can't just say, hey, I'm going to open up a rotisseria, and then the next day you see a shit ton of success. I think, there's a lot that goes into basically preparation.
How do you define an overnight success story is the question.
You know what? That's a good one. Thank you. Yeah, that is good. Like, I don't know how you define that.
I'm about to say, have you ever heard that term before?
Yes, I have.
We won't all that. And I've
overnight,
I've always had conflict with that.
Like, what do you mean overnight? Like, do you mean overnight? So, for instance, some people might say someone who was successful in the stock market in a year or less, such as like Tim Sykes, who went from $5,000 in the stock market and made $12 million over a year. That might be considered overnight success. Someone like Kevin Samuels going from like 10,000 subscribers to 1 million subscribers on Facebook and Instagram in less than a year, might be an overnight success.
Yeah.
Someone who might have just tossed money into Bitcoin at the very beginning of it being very volatile, throwing, $400 or $500 in there and then becoming a millionaire a week later, or a Dogecoin even, you can consider a overnight success. So it depends how you define overnight success. Do you mean like someone with no skills?
Most overnight successes, you never see the person put the work in.
I was just about to say that, because
that's how most overnight successes.
Yeah, because
you just see it when they miraculously appear out of thin air. You don't see the 15 years of hard work they put in.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying you don't know.
Yeah, overnight.
How do you define overnight?
Yeah, I could win the Mega Millions. Is that an overnight success?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's not. I mean, if by me, that's not a success. That's just luck of the draw.
Yeah, it's like, even with the story of Kevin Samuels, like, I followed Kevin Samuels well before this pandemic even happened. My wife is a testament to that. Like, I've seen that brother online for like 3 years, and he was garnering low viewership numbers. Yeah. So like to Smith's point, like, people don't see all of that work. Like, sometimes it's just a certain opportunity to give you that visibility, but like. No one sees the years of, like you were saying, Tim Sykes. We don't know the number of prior years where he just failed miserably with other investments, like, just miserably. Like, he was probably on the verge of divorce before he hit it big. I don't know if you guys ever watched the movie on McDonald's, The Founders, right, with Michael Keaton. Great movie. And that dude Ray Kroc was a fucking horrible salesman before he hit it big with McDonald's. Like, he went all the way up into his 60s, I believe, before he found success with McDonald's. So, like, a lot of times when we talk about overnight success, I think there's this oversimplification of how people gain the success without really examining the trials and tribulations.
Exactly. That's why I want to know how you define it.
Yeah.
For this question.
Henry.
Henry. How do you define overnight success?
That's easy enough. I mean, you can even use the Kevin Samuels example. Like, okay, you know that he may have put in the work for how many years and may have failed, but he's blowing up based off of, it might even been that one clip. So he is, even though the reality is he didn't come out of nowhere. People didn't really know about him until whatever viral video that was like average at best.
Average at best.
Yeah.
So even if you take, like, even they were looking at the that whole idea of like the Wright brothers, how like these dudes, even when they created the freaking airplane, like niggas didn't really make a big deal about it until it was linked to some type of tragedy.
Yeah.
So like, of course you put the time in, and that's not as 100% comparable to maybe like a disaster like 9/11 or even like a plane crash. But at the same time, you do still have like, dang, where did this dude come from? Even though he's been here for all that time. Even if you look at like an athlete who was like averaging 7 points one year, and then the next, for 2 or 3 years, and then the next year, the dude's averaging 20. Yeah, he's putting in the work. We don't see it, but it still feels like, dang, this shit came out of nowhere. So like, even though we don't see the behind the scenes work, when they burst onto the scene, it's still considered like the overnight success. Like, man, we didn't see it until it actually happened. Nobody saw the gradual progress of Kevin Samuels to see what he's become.
So should we do away with that term?
Do we equate that to overnight success though? Or is that because there's still work being put in? You know what I mean? Remember, to that person, they don't consider themselves an overnight success. So again, how are you using that term? Because the person that's putting that work in, like Giannis won a championship, but he doesn't consider himself an overnight success. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So even if you look at like the one thing that made this dude famous or more popular, Kevin Samuels, it was that one video. So that's the one thing that gave him the, I don't want to say that gave him the necessary success, more so notoriety, because I'm pretty sure that all of him, all the times where he's tailoring this or tailoring that to make it work a little bit better led, culminated in that one moment that caused it to, to have him have that viral moment. But for everybody else, it's like the dude came out of nowhere. This was the one thing where you hit it big. Even with the whole thing as far as the whole McDonald's. Like, I mean, I don't know how fast McDonald's blew up, if it was just like, the shit came out of nowhere. But if maybe the nigga's burgers was trash, I'm making the story up, obviously. And then he perfected over the course of however many years. And then that nigga tried that one burger ingredient, opened up the store on a Monday. Niggas came in and was like, yo, this is what's up. That shit, Mike can see. Go ahead.
Nah. I was going to say, so really more so maybe Schubert and Smith might have a strong set. Should we eliminate that phrase, overnight success, because it's very disingenuous to the work that's put in.
It's like an oxymoron or something.
Yeah. Should we do away with that? Should society just do away with that because it kind of minimized the work that's put in?
No.
Okay.
No. Because here's what I'm hearing from everything we're saying here. Imagine 3 guys are doing a cross country race, right? Let's say they're racing. Let's say it's a 3-mile race, right?
Mm-hmm.
Guy number 1 takes off. He's doing pretty good, and he's like, midpoint of the race. Guy number 2 takes off. He's like right behind number 1. They're kind of neck and neck with it. Guy number 3 is kind of in the background, But guy number 1 and 2, when they get to like that last, half a mile in that 3 miles, they start pooping out a little bit. But they got distance, and that third guy comes along, and he sprints out that last half mile and wins the race. The whole thing is, it's not so much of the time that's been put in, it's the way that you win or the way that you gain to that success. Instead of, most of us think of success in this long-term, slow pace, slow and steady pace versus like a sprint. And the whole thing is, from what I'm hearing, when you think about somebody like a Kevin Samuels, where he's been, a good steady pace, and then he's gotten to a certain point where he hit a really good, pace and kind of sprinted past everybody else. And they're like, whoa, where'd he come from? So that's kind of where I'm seeing this overnight success. And that happens all the time.
Yeah.
We usually, refer to that guy as the underdog, that comes from behind at the end and wins the race, and we see that all the time. And it's one of the things that we do publicize because it's good. It brings good spirits. Like, look at all the people I mentioned, like from Tim Sykes to Kevin Samuels and these are not guys that you were watching for a long period of time, but all of a sudden they sprinted past where they should be, and now they cross that finish line and you're looking at them like, oh, where'd you come from? But, they were always in the race. So I don't know, the overnight success thing, I think is something that does happen and does get publicized, because it does make people feel good and give people hope, versus like, hearing the person like a Warren Buffett who's got, freaking 8 decades in the stock market and becoming a billionaire. You're like, you know what I mean? If he had did that in his 20s, people were like, whoa. But because he did that over 80 years or 70 years or whatever it was, it's not as impressive.
Yeah, he ain't start hitting his stride till after 50.
Yeah, by the time he was in them billionaires, he was able to collect Social Security.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I think we kind of answered that second part of that question. Why aren't they widely publicized?
Yeah.
Because shit.
But they are.
They're kind of
widely because they're rare. They're a little bit of rarities. They don't happen.
I think they romanticize too much, to be honest.
That's true. Because of Tim Sykes, there's a lot of luck in that one.
Exactly. I think it's too romanticized. And I think if you speak to the Tim Sykes, you speak to the Kevin Samuels, you speak to the Ray Krocs, or anybody else who just feels like, their success seems, obtainable. You're just like, nah. It's like, I had to put in well over 10,000 hours of work into this. And I don't think people really delve into that.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into the next question. Black Zeus, has this book influenced your views on income, debt, savings, or investing?
Personally, all the principles he identifies, I pretty much closely correlated with already.
Yeah.
The only thing was savings. I've always been a, cash is trash type of, mindset where it's like, after a certain point of cash, it's like, it's not doing anything but making the bank rich, but he has influenced my idea of having that cash savings, a little bit more, little fluffy, keep it a little fluffy. It's not really gaining a lot of interest, but it's good to have there and not have to liquidate any stocks or
interest. What's that?
Yeah, exactly.
What's that?
0.0000123%.
You'd be like, yo, where the fuck does penny come from?
Yeah. That's your 5 years of investing with Investment Bank.
In a money market, a shitty money market. Oh, man. For me, I'm with you, Shu. It really, for me, it didn't necessarily change my perspective a lot, and I could kind of tie in my question in regards of, I think the only thing that it kind of did is solidify my unconventional thought of it when it comes to savings. The rule of thumb was always to have 3 to 6 months, and I remember coming out of college, and shortly after graduating, we were hit with the 07-08 financial crisis. And the one thing I've always said was I gotta have a nice buffer savings. Like the conventional 3 to 6 months savings was just obsolete because I kept in contact with a lot of people who were laid off in corporate America. I've been through so many rounds of layoffs. I've seen so many rounds of layoffs, and to be in contact with those people, some of those people were unemployed for months. I'm talking about going into 2 years. And for me, I always said, bump that. Like I've always had at least a year worth of savings. I know some people will say, oh, all you need is 3 to 6 months. Fuck that. I've always had at least a year worth of savings to cover my overhead, just because, the job market could be brutal.
Honestly,
honestly,
the way I'm looking at it, I'm starting to set a goal of hitting that 6-figure mark in the savings, because like, here's the thing, it's like, like you said, the job market is brutal and you never know what's going to happen, especially somebody like me who's an entrepreneur, where there is no safety net.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm on my own. And then secondly is the fact of like, what? I may not get a lot of interest or make a lot of money off of that, if I hit the 100, in the savings, but if anything should even happen to that savings, it's covered FDIC.
Yeah.
So it's just like, just maximize that. Maximize that safety cushion there, just like you would want to maximize every other thing. So, it has changed my perspective on that.
Yeah. I'm thinking not necessarily influence some things, but more so reconfirm some things.
Yeah, the one thing I found interesting that he said was, I kind of been toying with the idea, is paying off the house earlier. So even though it didn't make sense from a necessarily like an investment standpoint, just more so from like a peace of mind standpoint.
See, I'm not that well versed enough in real estate. I'm still trying to understand why is everybody so against being out of debt. Like I'm still.
Yeah. Well, I think. Well, here's the thing, right? And I'm glad we about to talk about that one, because let me see if I can pull a table up. So, and he acknowledged, it's he missed out on a lot of upside on not investing in the markets versus to like paying off his interest, because you think about it, like, all right, most interest rates, I guess, some people got 3, 4, maybe up to 5% interest on their home. Whereas like if you could invest that money into the market, you're missing on a lot of growth. Like there's been back-to-back years where the S&P 500 had seen 30%, 40% growth. So like, you're eliminating debt in one capacity, but you're missing out on a tremendous amount of upside in another. And it's
why you have a big chunk of money.
Yeah. So it's just like, what's up?
What if that has to do with investment property? So like, are you still is the rule to still look at, well, I guess it depends on what the return of the investment will be.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it's the philosophy. This is why I like the book. Like, there's no right or wrong in this, as long as it works for you. Like, to be honest,
my whole thing is that if you've paid off your mortgage, the money that you are now dedicating to your mortgage, you can dedicate to your investments.
But it
depends on how fast you pay it off, though.
Yeah, it depends on how fast you paid it off, because like you then missed out on the years of growth on that investment. Like the whole thing that was running,
See, I don't know if that's the case, but
it depends on how fast you pay it, though, Shu. It depends on how fast you pay it.
Absolutely, definitely, it depends on how fast you pay it. But what I'm just saying is the fact of, so let's say your retirement account. The average American is not allowed to put more in their retirement account more than $6,000 a year. So you're capped at that. You know what I mean? And then if you're investing in the market, anything, if you have an investment account versus just, your Roth or your traditional, whatever the case is, at the end of the day, there is no cap on that. And there is no limit on when you can put it in, because the whole thing is, even though, you might miss out on some growth, but if you're now taking your $2,000 mortgage, for instance, right, and you're dumping that into the market at an exponential rate, you can pretty much place and pretty well catch up if you paid off your house early,
bruh. And you would think that. So like one of the things my job would do, right, we will hold seminars for investors, right, to like break down how to invest in the market. And one of the running themes is like invest early. And they will run simulations. So like let's just take the four of us. You got Smith, straight out of college, he's investing in the market. Yeah, he's investing small change, but he's investing in the market. Then you got Schubert, who might start maybe like in his late 20s compared to Smith, who started right out of college. And then you got Kelvin, who started in his mid 30s. And then you got myself, who probably was starting in the 40s. Now, yes, I dedicated my 20s and 30s paying off my mortgage, but Smith, the guy who probably started off investing maybe $1,000 every year into the markets, he gained this is how
that's over like 20 years though. What if
that's what I'm saying. It's just like, it's the compounding that Smith has garnered over the course of time versus to me now getting into the markets. Like, yo, Smith is probably, and granted, you got to run these numbers, but like, it has historically shown that the earlier you start investing in the market, you're better off versus to someone who starts later. Despite what I'm saying, like, despite now dumping in a whole lot more money into the markets.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is what I'm saying is, I understand that part. I understand, but one of our largest overhead is our living expense for our home, whether it be rent or mortgage, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, the market is based off of the future that you may have versus the home that you do have. And the market can go up, down, left, right. You never know. But like paying off your home, that is a rock solid investment.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, which one is the more stable gamble? If you're able to pay off your home in 10 years, versus gamble in the market for 10 years. Because at the end of the day, regardless of, I don't care how good of an investor you are, we all know the stock market is a gamble. Paying off your home and owning it is a guarantee.
Well,
so it's just like, I just don't see how that's a bad move.
Yeah. So I think the only way that it's bad is if you just stop investing altogether. Now, if I'm going to put, as opposed to me maxing everything out, so I go from maxing everything out to not paying anything over the course of 10 years so I can pay my house off. I don't think that's a good idea. If you're talking about maxing that, but if you're talking about, okay, I'm not going to max out anymore, maybe I'll put 6 G's instead of the 19 that I can put in.
Into your 403B or your 401k.
Maybe I'll do 6. Okay, to me, then that makes sense.
Yes.
Unless you're talking about...
But again, it makes sense. I don't think there's a right or wrong decision in that. But like, you could run simulations. Like, people take in, like, okay, yeah, you reduce your number of contribution into your retirement so you could pay off your mortgage. Nothing wrong with that. But then you are missing on the more potential upside.
Yeah, but what if you're someone who was retiring in 2000 and 2008?
You're absolutely right. You got fucked in the ass.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why would you not ensure the guarantee win,
bro?
Before you
like
reach
I said,
out for that?
I don't think, me personally, when I had these conversations with colleagues, I never say, yo, what you're investing, unless you're doing some real crazy shit, like, yo, I'm 100% in Bitcoin. Now I think you're a fucking idiot. But if you're not, but if you're not doing something like that, I don't think, as long as you got
then I'm not telling you my investments.
as long as you got a sound strategy, right. Like, yo, I don't think there's any. I won't knock it. I can never knock it. I think for the people who are pro markets, they just say, like, yo, you're missing on the tremendous amount of upside by reducing your contribution. Because there's a reason why some people would say knock off your high interest rates, because that's the more liability, and they say you leave your mortgage for last, because they're just like, yo, what you're paying in interest in your mortgage over the course of 30 years is nothing compared to what you could have gained over the course of 30 years in the markets.
I hear what you're saying. I mean,
that's just the philosophy out there.
Oh, I hear I know the philosophy. I understand the philosophy now when you say it like that. Yeah. I mean, personally, I have zero debt. So like, I don't. Other than my mortgage, I owe nobody nothing. You know what I mean? So like, to me, it's just like, I love that peace of mind. I love that peace of mind of not every month like worrying, do I have enough to pay these bills? Are there going to be bill collectors coming to get me? Are they going to put a lien on my shit? No, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, to me, it's like, once I've paid off my home, everything else is gravy. Like, because at the end of the day, it's like, I need a home. I guarantee need a home. Do I need
no
an income as
disagreement
well?
for me. Yeah, I don't disagree. I've been contemplating that too. Like, yo, should I just pay off my mortgage so that way I have that peace of mind? Like, I've been contemplating that, but then I also look at the historical S&P 500, and I'm like, damn, being aggressive and paying my mortgage, I'm going to miss out on this fucking upside. Like, you know.
And honestly, it's like, me personally, I'm thinking about downsizing my portfolio and just like selling off a bunch of my shit and just sticking to REITs, the S&P 500, and bonds. And really simplify my portfolio, like get rid of my Apple stock, get rid of a lot of my
don't
stocks.
do that, bro.
Like, I'm
don't do that. Don't get rid of the Apple, bro. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Like, I'm just thinking, like, maybe I might want to simplify my entire portfolio and make it, just run automatic and not have to think about it.
Be more of a passive investor. I got you.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into Smith's question. Financial success is more of your behavior. No, my apologies. Let me read that again. Financial success is a more of a function of your behavior than your intelligence. The author makes the case throughout the book that financial decisions are deeply personal and often irrational. If that's true, why don't we make more rational decisions when it comes to money? Because I like tricking niggas. Like, nah.
That's a big part of it.
Yo, I like shiny shit. It's like, nah, I don't like shiny shit. I don't know, man, because we all try to live YOLO. At some point or another, we all...
Because we like that Telluride, motherfucker.
Yeah. I got this big booty hoe that want me to take her to Hawaii. So it's like, it is what it is. I don't know, man.
Know about her?
I think, man, I just think that we all, I don't care, maybe not Warren Buffett, because that motherfucker still has like a Toyota Prius and shit. But for the vast majority of us,
that motherfucker still driving a 1970
Impala. He drives some old shit, and he's still living at his old home in somewhere in Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska.
Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, so he lives in the same home.
Actually, one of my clients lives right up the street from him. She's like, yeah, he actually does live in that house. I'm like, word?
Yeah, so like, some people don't fall into he's a small percentage of people who don't fall into the temptation. For the vast majority of us, we get, we were like, yo, let's take that extra trip to like Cancun.
Nah, not I. So this black guy.
But you're rational. You're rational in a sense, Cash, because you do the saving thing and an investment thing, but then the irrational part becomes the part where you give somebody your credit card number because you don't know what you're spending the money on and you just don't want to see them.
Exactly.
Oh.
That's the irrational part.
Yo, he was keeping that in his back pocket. He was keeping that one in his back pocket.
Yeah, taking my wife out. Like, yo, I don't want to see the bill. Here you go. Here's the credit card. I don't care. Like, yo. It's that YOLO mentality. It's just like for some of us, it kicks in for certain things, man. It's just like when it comes to my wife's birthday, I like for her to have a good time.
But you know what? The whole thing is, there's nothing wrong with the YOLO when you've been stacking, and you're just like, you know what? For my wife, so it's still rational.
You think Warren Buffett was YOLO? You think?
Do I think Warren Buffett was YOLO? Hell yeah.
You know what though?
Because here's the thing: even though he has that old ass 1970 something, you know how much it costs to maintain one of them old ass cars?
That's true.
Yeah.
But they also touched on in the book how you can't really see an immediate dividend from saving. But you can get that shit from spending. And look, I want this now. I spend my money on this. I get the instant gratification.
Yeah.
It's not like that when you're spending your money rationally. Like even the whole idea of like, yo, I'm saving for something that what may or may not happen. It's going to, not even may or may not. I'm saving for something that's going to happen, like a disaster or an emergency. I don't know what it is. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know that it's going to happen. And you got some niggas who feel like, well, fuck that. That's never going to happen to me, or I'll just deal when it comes to it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
YOLO.
you have. I think you definitely have the instant gratification thing that is very irrational,
Mm-hmm.
and it all depends on the mindset. I personally I look at it as like a video game. When I see like my portfolio or so for instance, I saw my portfolio take a hit, about some 20, somewhere around 20-30 grand, whatever the case may be, and the old me might have freaked out, like, oh my God, I got to pull my money out. And I chilled the fuck out, and it came back up again, plus some. So I see it as a video game where it's just like, how many points can I score when I'm looking at my portfolio, or I'm looking at a savings account or bank account. If you're looking at your, it's automatic your viewpoint. If your viewpoint is, your scoreboard is based on how many material items you have, how many times you could flex on Facebook, you're gonna be broke. You're gonna be broke.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at your scoreboard, like, oh, let me check my bank account today. Oh, we looking pretty nice, but let's see what we could do to, amp that up, put a little bit more in there. Or, oh, let me look at my portfolio today. Oh, it's down a little bit, but it's only Monday. Monday is usually down let's see what it looks like by Friday. You know what I mean? Like, it's all a matter of your perspective. If your perspective is more, your scoreboard is based off the numbers you have versus off of the items you have, then you'll be fine. But the whole thing is, the rationality. So for instance, when we were talking last week, me, Bradley, Smith, and Smith's boy, Strong Stan, about the person who has the Honda Accord and the person who has the Maserati, and they both work the same job, making the same amount of money. And, Strong Stan was like, well, you don't know what benefit they get from having a Maserati. I'm like, they still got to drive at the same speed limit. They still stuck in the same traffic. So what are they really gaining in lifestyle or from that Maserati? Not a goddamn thing. But his perspective
might get an emotional gain. That's the thing.
Yeah. But that emotional is fleeting.
The emotional gain, yeah.
That emotional gain is fleeting, though.
It's true, but shit, for some folks, it'd be like, fuck it, I lived that life. Like, one thing I would say, there's some things to where, like, what earlier in this book, they talk about the Riley Reed guy, right? The janitor.
Uh-huh.
He was a stickler. He saved his money. He's the symbol of, if you save, and invest, you could be like him. But what's interesting about him is just like, what did he do for fun? Did all he did was save and invest? Like, did he not have any adventures? Did he not do anything with his family? Like, there's something about having memories. And if that memory costs you money, so like, I don't try to knock it. Like if you buying a Maserati is what makes you happy and it's within your means, knock yourself out, bruh. It is what it is. Or if you are someone who wants to have a trip to freaking Brazil, and and it takes away $3,000 from your portfolio that could be invested, if that memory serves you better, so be it. It's one thing, life, I don't know, man. Life is something that I think the one thing I've taken away from being shut down is like, you live one life, man, and it's just like nothing is guaranteed to you tomorrow. So like, if there's something that makes you happy in the moment, it is what it is.
So basically, YOLO.
YOLO.
You only live once.
Reasonably. Don't be stupid.
Yeah. But then you wake up and with nothing and shit.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. It's like
40 more years.
You butt naked. You butt naked in a Vegas hotel.
On some hangover type shit.
On some hangover type shit. Like, damn.
Hangover 5.
I didn't blew off all the fucking mortgage. I didn't took out a second mortgage.
Yeah, I didn't lose everything.
Hey, don't forget a lot. Hey, listen. You go to Lang City, there's a reason why there's a lot of homeless people in Lang City.
Facts, bro. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like, I love this book in the sense of it touches on, it depends on your philosophy of life, your outlook on life. I mean, I think, people should experience things. I do put a value on experience. Just do it soundly and financially. Do it financially sound. I've come to that point, because you get old people that always say that would have, could have, should have shit, and I've always say I don't want to ever be in that position where I have that would have, could have, should have shit.
A lot of it though, like that's the issue though, Kaz. What you're saying, you got to do it within your means.
Yeah.
The problem runs into when people are doing it outside of their means. Yeah. I don't have enough money to go on this trip to Mexico. I mean, I could afford or Vegas. I could afford the trip to Atlantic City. Yeah, I could afford the trip to Atlantic City, but I want to go to Vegas. So now I'm spending all this extra money that I don't have.
Yeah, put on the credit card.
Even. Yeah, I think that's the bigger issue. It's not even that people are saving their money and not experiencing things. You do have a couple outliers who may do that, but the biggest issue is, man, you got niggas who are just, I only live once. Man, I'm about to spend whatever I could get, spend even what I don't have.
Yeah.
And worry about it later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
that's
here's the thing.
As you're living, goals change too. Yeah. So that's what it said. I think 14 was you'll change because goals change.
Did y'all read the postscript?
Yes.
Yeah. Listen to it. Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing is like, I remember mentioning this last week to Smith and Bradley and Stan Strong, was that Earl Nightingale. I remember listening to him. It was like these tapes that they used to have. It was about encouragement and just that. Anyway, whole thing is one of the things he said. And mind you, granted, it was during the 1950s or 60s, and he basically said everything the rich man has, the poor man has, but a smaller version of it. The rich man has a mansion, but the poor man has a 2 or 3 bedroom house. The rich man has a limo, but the poor man has a car. The whole thing is, it's a matter of your perspective. And the thing is that going back to the whole Facebook and social media thing, our perspective has gotten twisted, where we think that we're supposed to have everything that the next man has. Oh, I'm good enough for that. I deserve that, because I work hard or whatever. But obviously you didn't work hard enough. I mean, or if you did, you'd be in that position and you wouldn't be worried about it. But now you're trying to, buy things on credit and put yourself in a financial, just so you could post up on Facebook and flex.
Yeah, what might alleviate that? He was making $900,000 a year, and the other guy was only making $80,000, and he wanted to buy everything that he had. It's like,
you know what
not
might
the same game.
You know what might alleviate some of that, if we're all required to put our debt to income ratio on our profiles. Like, how much do we really worth? What do we really owe? And then a lot of people might be like, you know what, maybe I don't want to get that shark inside of my house. Like,
you know what I find interesting though? It's not a problem for you to boast about your new car, your new house, your trip to Aruba or whatever the fuck is, right? That's perfectly fine. Everybody does that on Facebook. But if you say, let's talk about money, how much you got in the bank. Oh, that's rude. That's inappropriate. Why everything's got to be about money? Like, I see how people get uncomfortable when it comes to that conversation.
It definitely,
But when they want to show out their new Mercedes, their new Cadillac, but they want to tell you, oh, I just went to Aruba and this, that, and the other. But if you said, let's look at financial statements, like you talking about, like, I just gained this much in the stock market. They're like, oh, you always talking about how much money you have or something like that. It's just like, but you're basically doing the same thing.
Doing the same thing.
Yeah, you're flexing you're flexing differently.
Yeah, you're flexing differently. Yeah. So it's just like
your flex is material.
It blows my mind how people act like that. You know what I mean?
Mine liquid.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I kind of got off of I'm on social media just to observe. But I stopped posting because I'll never forget, man, like when I was posting trips, people made so many assumptions about my money that I was just like, nah, I can't do this shit anymore, man. I can't have people That's how you get
money
got
long.
too.
You always taking trips, man.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you get got. That's why I stopped posting. Yeah, I thought he was a friend, but this dude asked me for $800 just based on the type of trips I was having. He's like, "Yeah, you got it. Let me get $800," and I was just like, "Nah."
Word?
Yeah, yeah.
Word?
The mother,
wow.
Yeah,
you got it. Let me get $800.
And what type of dude are you that you asking another man for $800 though?
It's fine if you ask your boy to, let me borrow $800. But
he said borrow, but like we all know, once I don't do with the borrowing shit unless there's contracts involved. Like I don't. It's just when it comes to friends and family and that borrowing shit, I'm very particular about that shit.
Yeah, well,
like when my mom asked me like for $100, I'd be like, "Ma, here's $100." Like that's not. I know it's not coming my way, and I treat certain people like that. I just know certain people where you just like everyone. I think everyone knows someone like that. Once they get into the habit of asking for money, you know they're not paying it back.
Yo, Pratt, can I get $100?
Nah, Schubert, you good. The way you be flexing, the way you was able to tell me about Haven's restaurant, nah, you got it. You got it.
And the funny thing is, one of my friends, I most recently spoke, and they wanted to come by and see me. I'm like, I moved this, that, and the other. And they're like, you didn't, I didn't know you moved. You ain't post nothing. I'm like, yeah, I didn't post anything. You know what I mean? Because like, the funny thing is when I bought my place most recently, I'm thinking about the economy and how a lot of people are hurting. And this, that, and the other. And I don't know if people feel salty,
bro.
Like, hold up, how'd you get a house during this economy when people are like struggling and shutting down and businesses are failing and this, that, and the other? I mean, like, hell, even when I raised my rates at my gym by, literally 70 cents a session. All right. For group sessions, like 70 cents a session. When I showed them the math on what it was, like 76 cents a session, people were still tight. People were like mad at me for that. So imagine if they saw, so that's where my money's going to your
exactly.
House.
They'll be pocket watching.
Yeah. Exactly. So
people pocket watch all the time, man. That's why, man, social media is good for one thing for me. Just other entertainment, man. Like in regards of divulging my stuff, I stopped doing that shit a while ago.
I mean, listen.
I just do shit in silence now.
Do your shit in silent and only speak to motherfuckers. Here's the reality I've learned: only speak to motherfuckers that's on your level. I mean, I could sit here and talk about portfolio stuff with y'all fellas. You know what I mean?
That's a good one.
And know that there's not going to be any hate in the room.
Yeah,
that's a good people. Yeah, certain people.
You got to keep silent.
You showing off, you fans. Yeah,
exactly.
You're right.
Exactly.
You're right.
You're absolutely right.
I mean, you got to limit who you fuck with when it comes to that. And that's the reason why celebrities only fuck with celebrities. They don't fuck with, lower class people and people in the lower class because they're like, yo, you can't move the way I move. You know what I mean? Like Kevin Hart said, see the way my money's set up.
Yeah, I like that advice, man. It's just like you got to roll with a certain crowd. You can only talk about certain things with a certain crowd of people, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. Like I find myself very careful about like who I tell I got a brand new car. I'm like, nah, bro.
It is, man.
All right, fellas. I know it's coming close to time. How do we rate this book? Let's give it the IBBC rating. Because I know Kelvin and Black Zeus got to drop off at 10:45, and we got 3 minutes left. Rating.
I still got a little bit of time.
Okay.
Let Kelvin go first.
We could ramble about other stuff. I could stay on for a little bit after this as normal, but
this is my book. This is my book. I ain't going first.
All right, I'll rate it first. Honestly, as far as new content, nothing was new to me. I do appreciate that the information is being put out there. I thought it was very well put together in a very simple and understandable, very comprehensive way. I also like the fact that towards the end of the book in chapter 19, he reviews all the principles and points and, summarizes them. And then finally, I love the fact of the postscript that he puts at the end, explaining how people got to where they are as far as their financial understanding and how they move the way that they move. So I thought it was a very, very well written book. Very well written book. You know what? For the first time, I got to give a book a 5-star.
No, I think you gave the Origins the 5-star.
No, I didn't.
You didn't give Origins 5-star?
Nope. Origins had a 4 out of 5.
No, he got a 4. Yeah, he didn't give it a 4.
This is the first time I'm giving a book 5 out of 5. Because this is something, whether you're rich or poor, doesn't matter where you are on the financial scale. This is useful for any and everyone.
Yeah.
You know, so I give it a 5 out of 5. Well done, Kel.
Yeah.
Actually, no, Kel, you just got lucky. You didn't know.
Funny enough, this book was on my my wish list. So when Kelvin picked it, I was like, all right, I could check one book off that I don't necessarily have to
invest.
Yeah,
Schubert,
I had to invest in it.
Schubert must miss me at the gym, bro. He being too nice to me today.
Yeah. Pat, you
I'm
want to back too much?
I'm gonna give it a 4. Just for the reason that I did understand, or I had heard a lot of the philosophies, especially as far as saving. The one thing that I did find interesting that I didn't know was really just sort of like an explanation as to why we spend the way that we do, or why we act how we act towards money in general. Like, I knew that we did it, but just to like get an insight as to why we act that way was kind of like it.
I give this book, jeez, man, she would be killing me with not having fractional ratings and shit. I give this book a 4 out of 5. Similar to like for me, none of the concept is new based on similar readings I've done in the past. I definitely loved his approach to savings, his unconventional approach to savings, which kind of mirrors to like my unconventional approach to savings. I love a lot of the anecdotal story. I love a lot of the stories he shared. Just because it goes to show you, no matter how dire your situation is, if you're in America, you could do something with your life in regards of saving. Stop wasting $400 a month on cigarettes. On lottery tickets, and just invest it somehow. But I definitely enjoyed it. I think for me, it was just I don't know. I just felt like it was too short. I wish it could have went a little bit longer, but I guess that works for some people.
It's concise and straight to the point.
Yeah.
Like he said, he didn't want to write a long book that's redundant where he loses people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love redundancy. I love lengthy, as you guys could know after these meetings. We be talking for another hour or so. So I love when people ramble.
Yeah, I give it a 4. I enjoyed the book. I like how he structured the chapters with the subcategories. Like ones like man in car paradox. But I liked how he put it together. 16 did actually become redundant to me. If you go back and look at 16, he did repeat some of the things. That's why I'm going with the rating of the 4. But overall, I think it was definitely a great read, and I like that he actually talked about his own financial, how he invests. A lot of times people, when they write from that perspective, they don't tell how they invest, but I like that he put that in there of what works for him.
All right. Good book, Cal. Good book. Breaking news: U.S. men's basketball teams lose to France.
Yeah, I know, but you ain't answered my last question either. I just wanted to hear your thought on that question too.
Oh, the $1 million question.
Yeah, because we were pressed for time. I didn't want to. I wanted everyone's opinion.
Well, everybody
I know you had to drop off too, Smith. Because
I gotta go run some fish to some food.
All right, so real quick, run through the question.
Here goes Smith again. Everybody else had one question. He gotta be the only one to get 2. I guess he's making up for the fact that he ain't asked one last week.
I don't know. It was only one question. Actually,
it's a pretty good question, though.
When most bonus question. When most people.
I'll see y'all next week. I'm messing with you. Go ahead, bro. I'm messing with you.
I don't like him.
when most people say they want to be a millionaire, what they might actually mean is, I like to spend $1 million. Do you want to be the former or the latter? Why?
I'll go first because
because in the book you said,
I think y'all already know from my, telling you, I like having a high score. So I would rather have $1 million in the bank that I can flip and make, make residual income off of versus spend $1 million.
Oh yeah.
I want to be a millionaire. I don't want to spend $1 million. Because you were saying like most people just think that they just want to spend $1 million. They don't really want to be a millionaire. They just want the joy of thinking they want to spend $1 million. And I'm like, no, I don't want to spend $1 million. I like I like the way you put that, Black Zeus. I like to keep score too.
I want to see my bank account.
I like to see how
that's right.
I just want to see my bank account say it, even if it's just for a short amount of time. Even if I know I got to pay a bill at the end of the month, let me just let it sit there and say it for that. And
take a screenshot of it.
Yeah.
Take a screenshot of it. Print it out and put it in the frame, put it on the wall. Like, yeah, that was my bank account.
Yeah. Had a bank write me a check. I'll take the overdraft fee.
I'm sorry. See, that's where I might be. I'm sorry. That I might be a dick if that were to happen. My bank account has 7 figures in it. I might have to take a screenshot and post that on Facebook. Like, fuck y'all. I don't care how y'all feel. I'm flexing.
Nah,
I'm flexing.
I think this is unanimous. I'd rather have $1 million than to spend it, man. I'll probably have anxiety trying to spend $1 million versus to having it saved and invested. I think I'll be more anxious about spending it.
Oh no, like maybe because I'm satisfied where I'm at. So it's like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
I can't think of what I would spend it on.
Exactly. Like, that's where the anxiety would kick in. Like I'd be like, okay, where would I spend this on? And then I'd be like, I'll probably have buyer's remorse with every transaction. Like, yo, this is stupid. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it anyway.
And here's the thing. Me personally, here's what I would end up spending my money on. I would spend my money on. I'd invest it in my business to grow it more. So it's like, am I really spending it or am I just investing it? Really?
Nah, you'll be investing it. That's an investment.
So it's just like, I can't. Like, I don't know. Like,
man, you heard about like Dwayne Haskins? He's the backup QB. He was the starting QB for the Washington team,
Washington, right?
Yeah, and now he's a backup QB. So like, this is celebrity gossip, of course. And I remember, you probably saw the story. This dude is asking his side chick for $20,000 back. And it's just like, when I think about how people spend $1 million, I always forget how reckless people are. And when like Dwayne Haskins is going to be one of those, and I hope this is not the case for this brother, but he's just going to be one of those brothers when he's done playing, he's going to be broke, man. I was like, yo, you're giving your side chick $20,000 for what?
Yeah, but here's the thing. Remember what they said in the book? Remember what he mentioned in the book about Rihanna? Was it Rihanna? Yeah, it was Rihanna who,
I don't remember that.
No, wait a minute. Am I mixing up something? Anyway, I'm trying to think.
You talking about psychology of money?
I believe so. In psychology,
I don't remember him talk about Riri.
Yeah, I would have. My ears would have perked up with Rihanna.
Okay, no, it wasn't Rihanna. No, it wasn't Rihanna. No, it wasn't Rihanna. It was some celebrity chick. No, I don't know if it was in this book. Maybe I'm mixing up things. But it was some celebrity chick where, she basically almost went bankrupt spending all her money and then wanted to sue her financial advisor, because she's like, yo, what the fuck happened to my money? It's like, yeah, bitch, when you spend money, you have less of it.
Yeah,
like that's how that shit works.
That wasn't Rihanna, but that was in this book though.
Yeah, I forget who the celebrity was.
Fellas, I'm out. Smith, I'll see you soon, bro.
Yeah, like when you
somebody like you got ready.
You got less of it. That's how that works. It's like you spend money, you have less of it.
Less of it.
That's literally the meaning of you cannot have your cake and eat it too. If you eat it, you have less cake.
Yeah.
Like, but it's sad that you got to tell people that, though.
I remember Eddie Griffin had a reality show on VH1. I think it was VH1, and his financial advisor dumped him as a client because he was like, "Yo, look, man, like, yo, Eddie, you can't be spending money like this and expect me to bail you out." He's like, "I can't bail you out of situations where you don't have the money to be bailed out of," and it's, man, while we all said that we'd rather have $1 million, granted, maybe we just don't come from that environment where spending $1 million is easy. Because I'd be struggling. Like, how would I spend $1 million outside of buying a home? Of course,
I'm about to say outside of big purchases, there's nothing.
I mean, quite frankly, here's the reason why. Because if most of us have worked our way up and got to where we are now and are satisfied or pretty much content. Versus, like, if you had maybe hit up young us, like 20-year-old us, we might have blown through that cash. Like, it's kind of like, it's like Jay-Z in the 444 album. He said, like, he had every, V12 engine. You know what I mean? He spent money like crazy and shit.
And he wished he could go back and invest some of it.
Exactly. Lucky for him, he learned. Or look at Shaq. If you know the story about Shaq. He blew his $1 million. He blew $1 million in one day buying jewelry, Mercedes.
I saw that interview. Yeah, I saw that interview.
He went bankrupt in like a day.
Yeah, he blew $1 million in a day. Yeah.
So I mean,
especially when you start getting women involved. Shit. Speaking of how we feel about Dr. Dre's alimony situation,
dude.
Talking about money.
Only in America.
Rick, you saw it? You saw the headline with Dr. Dre?
No, I ain't see it. What was it?
That brother got to pay his ex-wife $300,000 a month.
Dang.
For the rest of her life.
Yeah, man. They didn't even put it. They didn't. You know how most alimony might have like 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah. No cap.
Like this shit didn't seem like it had a cap on it.
Damn.
Like, that's crazy. It's like, for what?
Man, shit.
And this,
breaking news. Nicole Dre mysteriously dies.
Who?
Nicole, I think that's his wife, Nicole.
Oh.
Breaking news. Nicole Dre mysteriously dies. Because
I'm trying to tell you.
That shit would have happened.
I'm trying to tell you.
Oh, man. I tell you what, Dave. That's crazy, bruh. I couldn't believe that shit. It's not the most expensive divorce, though. I think the most expensive.
The Bezos?
Nah. I think Bezos. I'm not mad at the Bezos, but I think Bezos might be the most expensive divorce. Before, I think in the 90s, I think it was like Michael Jordan. And then there was some rock and roll artists after that. And then
he started paying that joint August 1st. The exact amount is $293,306.
Yeah, bro.
Like, that's crazy.
Jesus Christ. Yeah.
And my whole thing is this: is that, let me get this straight.
Oh, that's not bad though.
No, that is bad. That is bad.
No,
okay, that's
let me tell you why it's not bad. I'm gonna tell you why it's not bad. Because she was trying to get him to pay 1.9 a month.
Listen.
Oh, okay. When you put it in that perspective, yeah.
She purposely shot high to drop down that low.
Yeah, I mean 300,000.
That's what they do. That's what they do. They shoot high to settle down to that low. That's what they purposely do. All right, because one of my clients who got divorced most recently, like when she was going through her divorce, she was putting everything in there from like even the dogs, like, vet visits and the dog's food as the expenses and this, that, and the other. Like the dog was their kid or something. And I'm just like, this is crazy.
You know the crazy part? Because I'm reading this, but the crazy part? So she's one of the chicks that won't ever get married or have a partner. Because if she gets married or gets into a domestic partnership or dies, the money stops.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Oh, that's how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how it always works for alimony. Yeah, if you move in with somebody or you get married to somebody, then the spouse no longer has to pay for that. But here's the thing: she's gonna end up dying alone anyway, because how old is this woman? In her 50s?
She's not
right?
ugly though.
He's 56.
All right, so she's in her 50s, right?
They was together for 24 years. She looks like she's younger than them, but she's 50 something.
She's 51. Nicole Young.
Okay, so she's 51.
Damn,
right?
Dre's daughter looks just like him. All right, my bad. Go ahead.
So she's 51. She kids are not is not in the picture, right?
They're all grown, bro.
They're all grown.
They're all grown.
Now here's the thing. You know, she has now been dating Dr. Dre and living a certain type of lifestyle. You think she's going? Number one, ain't no celebrity dude scooping her up.
I don't know. You got a bunch of simps out here, bro.
No, crazy. Not in the celebrity circuit.
He's got
the celebrity circuit.
He got to still pay for 2 of her homes and for her health insurance. So she ain't doing that with nobody.
Like, here's the thing, unless she pulls the same thing that Jeff Bezos' wife did, because Jeff Bezos' wife married a regular guy,
married a regular guy,
and we know that black women don't do that shit.
Yeah, black women don't do that.
But hold up, Nicole Young is white.
Okay, she is.
Yeah, she's white. She's white, bruh. Nicole Young is white.
Shit. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Unless she's gonna marry a teacher and give up that $300,000, which she's not gonna give it up.
I did not know. Well, you guys just educate. I did not know alimony ceased if they get remarried.
Oh yeah. If you get remarried, or if you got a living boyfriend,
you get a partnership. Yeah.
Interesting.
So she got a dude. She just can't live with him.
Yeah.
But she'll get a lot of young dudes piping her down when she need that itch to be scratched. So
yeah, she might do that.
She's she's attractive. Like, I don't see her struggling.
Dude. Like, real talk. Come on now.
What?
How many young dudes marrying 51-year-old women?
Don't Madonna got a young ass husband?
Madonna got money.
So now does Nicole Young.
Not if she gets married.
Yeah, you're right. I keep forgetting that.
You keep forgetting where the source of the income is coming from.
I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
See, Jeff Bezos, here's the thing. Jeff Bezos' wife got a half of his empire settlement. She didn't get alimony. She got half of his shit.
Yeah.
So she got a nice job.
Good.
Though.
Yeah.
She's good.
She's free to do whatever she wants.
So she could do whatever the fuck she wants. That's why she married a teacher.
Yeah.
All right. That's why she married a teacher. She's like, I don't need your money. We good. She might have been fucking around with the teacher on the side the whole time.
Well, ain't no way she's giving her $3.5 million a year for no dude.
Exactly.
Like $3.5 million free cash. I don't gotta work for.
What is she gonna
give
do?
It up?
She give up those houses, give up the lifestyle, give it all up, because she won't be able to maintain it.
Nah, because especially whatever mansion she got, I can only imagine what the landscape bill looks like. What didn't we do? Didn't we do a breakdown of the shit that she was asking for?
Yeah, there was a whole breakdown of all the stuff she was, like laundry and dry cleaning was like $250,000 a month.
And her what was it?
Her cell phone and cable was like $100,000 a month.
Her entertainment fee.
Yeah, that shit was crazy.
Like $600,000.
Yeah,
that shit is crazy.
What kind of movies you go into?
Like, hold up. So you don't go watch the movie Fast and Furious. The Rock and Vin Diesel and all of them come to your house and act it out. Like, that's what happens, right?
Dr. Dre is reportedly net worth is around $800 million. Now, granted, most of that is probably tied in real estate and investments.
The
company. So I don't know how.
And that's the thing people don't understand is there's a difference between, and this is what I was trying to explain to one of my clients who's like, oh, Jeff Bezos has all that money. He doesn't help people.
That's not all in cash.
It's like, no, that's not cash, boo-boo. That's what he's worth.
Yeah, that's what he's worth. People always mix that up all the time.
Money. That's that people money.
Because people who don't have net worth don't understand what net worth is.
They see net worth, they just think that, oh, that's readily available. Nah.
Like, nah, that's not.
You see if I can find his liquid. Well, see, that's the thing. Liquid net, they would never publicize their liquid net worth.
Nah.
Oh, no.
And plus that fluctuates.
Yeah, and plus that fluctuates. So
I mean,
I don't know. $800 million. He's only paying $3.5 million a year. I guess that's not a bad. I don't know, man. I don't know. He's in California.
Listen, it's the principle of it. It's just the principle. It's like you get the benefits of my labor without having to be with me. That's the part that bothers me. That's the part that bothers me. Like, here's the thing: if coming to be with me, it comes with certain benefits. When you leave me, leave my benefits as well. Because you can't get that with a job. You could spend 20 years with a company. Once you leave that company, all the company fringe benefits and all that stays with the company. I mean, if you invested your money into money into your 401k, your pension, then then you get to keep that, but you don't get to keep all the fringe benefits of being with the company. And let's be for real, that's what marriage is. When you get married, it's a merge of two companies. That's why if you look on your driver's license, your name is capitalized, because your name is capitalized because it represents the fact that you are an entity, a business, a company.
So the message is marry right, fellas.
Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely.